Hello, welcome. I'm analyzing a game from the Fide World Cup, round 4.2, Alekseenko versus Liren. Here's, like I said, round 4.2. This game ended in a draw. They both will be advancing to I believe, to the rapid game, 25 plus 10 tomorrow. 25 plus 10 tomorrow. And let's start with infinite analysis. During this game, I was a little worried about Ding because he gave up the exchange for a pawn and a piece. And it seemed to me all that Alekseenko had to do was to hold the position, and that extra piece might start to show. So let's go. Let's take a look. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4, knight F6, D3, bishop C5, C3, D6, castles, rook E1, A5, stopping B4, H3, H6, preliminary moves, knight B, D2, both moves for that. H3 by white stopping bishop G4, bishop E6, attacking the white squared bishop, the opposing white squared bishop. White doesn't want to exchange. Instead, he plays bishop B5. A capture on C6 would double the C pawns. Queen to B8. Any capture, then B2 is under pressure. Knight F1, repositioning the knight. The knight could go to G3 eventually. So the purpose of queen to B8 is to put the queen on A7 to pressure F2. White could play queen to E2, protecting F2, and then continue developing. And that would be satisfactory. Queen E2 or bishop E3. Bishop E3 is interesting, opposing the bishop on C5, which is attacking F2. Bishop E3, that would be pretty good. If they exchange, then white would capture. Knight takes E3. Well, my clicker isn't working here. If they exchange, then knight takes E3. Let's see if I get that. Oh, there we go. Then knight takes. But he did not play bishop E3. Instead, he plays D4. E takes. Then bishop takes C6. Here, black decides to capture the pawn on C3. By the way, this is a guaco piano. He decides to capture the pawn on C3 and then capture on F2 with check, picking up the exchange. But in doing so, he just picks up, I think, a pawn and a piece for the exchange. D takes, bishop back, then bishop takes F2, bishop takes rook. Queen takes, then D5. If we count the pieces, white has 5 pieces to black's 4. Black being up the exchange, and if you want to, let me see, after he bishop E3, queen takes, then knight takes, then B takes C3. So we have 5 pawns to 7, a piece and 2 pawns for the exchange. Queen C4. But I was a little worried for black because, as I was saying, it seems to me all white has to do is to hang on to notice this extra piece. But black does have some compensation in the pawns that he has on the queen side. Also, the exchange. Knight 1 D2, A4, rook C1, queen A5, bishop C2, bishop F5. Protect the knight to keep that pawn if they capture on E4. Queen H4, rook F to E8, queen F4, bishop G6, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes. Here, white has a clear advantage. Computer says white is up practically by a pawn. And we have bishop takes, queen takes, attacking B7. C6 to protect B7, A3. Outpost on for B4, maybe for the bishop later. Rook to E6, rook C4, putting pressure on A4. Queen D5, offering the exchange. They exchange, and white keeps the advantage. Rook c7. Rook c7 may have been a better move, attacking that 7th rank. I like rook c7 here. For instance, rook c7, then rook to b8, protecting b7. White was attacking b7, then rook d7, attacking d5. Rook to c8, threatening rook c3. Bishop d2, and maybe I like rook c2 here. Maybe rook c2. But this is the b6 variation. Then rook takes d5. This is just a variation. And white has a slight advantage, but black may be able to hold on. After rook d4, we have rook b6. White picks up d5 pawn. Then rook to b3, attacking a3. Bishop c5, protecting a3. Bishop can go to b4 eventually. Rook to b5, pinning the bishop on c5, threatening b6. Knight d4, attacking the rook. Rook over. a5. Then knight f5. King up. Ding did an excellent job in holding the position, keeping everything balanced. I was worried about him in this game. I thought white may win this game, but they drew. Rook b5, bishop b4, rook takes, knight takes. With every exchange, it makes it easier for black. Ding survived the hard part. Rook e8, attacking e5. Bishop d6, protecting e5. Knight coming to b5 to pick up a4. Rook a8. Here, your computer likes king g3, but knight c7. Knight c7. Let's look at this variation here. Knight c7, rook c8, king g3, king g6, king f4. Computer likes this position for black. In any variation, it would be kind of difficult for black here. But the position is, white will always have a slight advantage. But Ding did very good to hold on here. I think it was quite amazing. King at g3, rook a6, knight b4, rook b6, king f4, f6 to break up the pawn structure. He cannot advance e5, e6 because that would pick up the bishop. So he's guaranteed an exchange with the e5 pawn here, easing the position. King e4, they exchange. Rook b5 check, king c4, rook a5, bishop c7, attacking the rook again. Rook goes back, then white picks up the e5 pawn. So it's kind of smooth sailing for black now. He's overcome the hard part. g5, knight d5, h5, g3, king g6, h4. Now the position is even. King f5. Ding did an excellent job in equalizing this game. Bishop f6, rook check, king moves. Yeah, he could play g takes h4 here. Wait a minute, king here. Yeah, black could go g takes h4. That would be good. King to e6, knight e7, g takes h4 now. G takes, rook c1. The game is totally even now. Bishop g5, rook b1 check, king takes a4, b5 check, king up, rook b3, attacking a3, picks up a3, picks up b5. That's totally drawn here. Here they agree to a draw. Excellent game by Ding Liren. Great judgment in position there. In the with the exchange being white being the exchange down for a couple of pawns and a piece. Excellent game by Ding. So I think tomorrow they go to 25 plus 10. So we'll see you then and see what happens during that game.